Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking me. Can you hear me pretty well? Is this
I can
okay?
hear you. I can hear you perfect.
Okay, dope.
I'm loving your purple background.
Yeah, I gotta set the vibe and all that. Yeah, this is a every night thing. I don't like bright lights and stuff like that. And usually if I'm like, doing music or something like that, I gotta set my vibe and all that. So,
I feel that. I'm kind of jealous. Okay, so this is Lara, aka the Sound Sommelier, here with Why Not. What is your earliest memory of hip hop?
wow. I can't, that's like one of those things that's hard to pinpoint exactly. For me, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it was a series of events,
Okay.
and it took me a while until I realized what it was
Mm-hmm.
or what I was maybe getting involved in.
Right.
So so yeah, I don't know. It took a few years even until I knew exactly. I knew the name, I heard of it, like,
Mm.
but I didn't understand the scope of it.
Right.
And what that meant. Like this, I didn't get introduced to that whole idea of like this is the four elements and this is
Mm-hmm.
this and that until a little bit later. And then I said, oh, this is actually all one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to like grow up in an area where it was pretty prominent. I mean, everybody pretty much participated in that. It wasn't anything that you had to like really go seek and find.
Right.
It was already there. So
Nice.
yeah.
Um, what records do you recall hearing in your home when you were younger?
Wow. So my mom has a really interesting palette for music,
Nice.
and I have to definitely give it up to her in terms of like my introduction to sounds. And there's one particular record I'll never forget, which is Inagata Davida from Iron Butterfly.
Nice.
This is a song she played pretty often, and I remember it like because when I went to one of my first jams, that was being played, but it was the bongo band version of that record.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Right.
it came kind of full circle to me. Like I was like, yo, I listened to this at home. This is crazy. And watching people dance to that as well as hearing, that version, I was like, damn, this is wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. I mean, we actually she played Soul Makossa from Manu Dubango a couple times. Prince was heavy rotation for
Nice.
sure. The Time, I mean, the Purple Rain movie she played pretty often, so I learned a lot of music from that. Yeah, stuff like that.
I like it.
Mm.
How did growing up in Philly lead you down your current career path?
Wow. The experience in Philly was something that opened my eyes to a lot, especially when it came to music.
Hmm.
I didn't fully move to Philly till I was 19.
Okay.
So prior to that, I was in New Jersey. And then I got a lot of my education, especially when it came to anything hip hop wise in New York. But yeah, I eventually moved to Philly. I went to school in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And my time spent there was like, I was like, yeah, okay. So going to open mic nights, walking by Gamble and Huff, International Records on Broad Street. Like it's just an environment of, jazz history, the sound of Philadelphia, like all this stuff. Record stores at that time were still popping, which I was lucky to catch. So that's like more 99,
Hmm.
you know. And I watched those close kind of through the years. Like once it got to like about 2000, if I could remember, five or so, they started closing. And then they kept saying, oh, we're going online and stuff now. People weren't buying as many records and vinyls anymore. So I was like, damn. But I was lucky to catch a good end, I think, of an era of music exchange, music knowledge. I went to the Black Lily a couple times, which is open mic night from Questlove and the Roots.
Hmm.
I saw a lot of acts there before I actually heard them on record.
Hmm.
So like Kindred, Amel LaRue,
Wow.
oh my God, Yeah, it's like there's a list of people. Pretty much that whole Soul Aquarians movement, I could say. I
Right.
witnessed a
Hmm.
lot of the open mic night with them, so it was dope. I mean, Philly's just like it's left a stain on me, like for real. That's it's always gonna be with me. You know, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, I like that you got a taste of the right New York, New Jersey, and Philly. We're the same
Tri-state.
age, so I know exactly what was going on when you were growing
Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah, I call it tri-state,
up. Hmm.
whatever. That's the best way I can explain. So if people ask me like, "Hey, where are you from?" Like, yeah, I was born in New Jersey, but like I think too, now that I moved out west for a while, I realized that the states aren't as close,
No.
right? So it's like you can drive from Philly to New York in the day and come back the same day, and it's not like you
Right.
missed anything. It takes a couple
Mhm.
hours. And I think for people on the West, it's hard for them sometimes to understand that. How could you be in three different places at the same time? Well, it's like, well, they're so close to each other. So, because,
Right.
Yeah. So
Not everybody knows though, so.
not everybody knows. It's true until they witness it or go and experience it. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
different. Mm.
So who introduced you to breaking?
Oh, man. Who and what, I would say, right?
Okay.
Who and what? Because it's like the environment, I think, led me to breaking because um, I think that's how you meet. That's how you meet the people.
Right.
And also, it's just like, so this whole concept of like breaking is this kung fu, right? Like we walk
Hmm.
amongst each other, but until we like do it, and especially in the 90s, it was like not everybody was just doing that publicly like they were maybe in the early 80s, right? So it's not like we're laying out cardboard and we're getting down. It's like if you did it, you kind of did it in your home, maybe in your basement, and if you saw someone do it, then you'd be like so excited to talk to them because you're like, yo, so how long you been doing this? Like,
Uh-huh.
and then you exchange and then you get to know each other. So my early days was just mostly like catching the end of like middle school. So I danced with this guy Alejandro. He's a Colombian cat actually, so he learned a lot from Colombia and then came to America. I was into boxing and taekwondo, and then I met my boy Dino Mike, who eventually started to take me to the city. So he knew what was happening in New York at the time, and I didn't. And the crew that I eventually got down with, their name was Rock with Finesse. That was a New Jersey crew. They were all older than me, so a couple years older than me. So they used to just take me wherever they would go. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to this event. We're gonna go to this, club." Some clubs I was able to get in, some I couldn't. But yeah,
You were already light on your feet from boxing and everything.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of that is in my style. I think that's really where my footwork comes from. My
Right.
understanding of body weight, rhythm as well. It's all in there.
Very much.
Yeah.
So where did you first learn of the Rocksteady crew and what led to you joining?
So one of the first events I went to was in the Bronx, and it was at the Hunts Point Community Center. And so Dynamite took me there. So my boy Dynamite took me there for the first time, and that's where I first saw Rocksteady because that was an event that they were throwing. It's called Breakbeats. And at the time, Legs was trying to make that like a once a month type event.
Hmm.
And I heard of Rocksteady, saw them already like through television. There was a lot of stuff that I would catch just on like, for example, BET had like Old School Wednesday, right? They would show like old videos from like maybe early 90s or late 80s, and you could catch like Crazy Legs in every dang video.
Hmm.
So when I finally got to see him in person, I was like, oh, this is it. This is them. This is Rocksteady Crew. So, and the introduction at that time was very close. Like the scene was just starting to like ignite itself.
Reinvigorate, yeah.
Yeah, it was I'm talking like mid 90s now, and slowly but surely my generation is really getting into it, and it took a little while because it was not the popular thing necessarily, but if it wasn't for people, or platforms like BET and such, like showing us visions of what that was, we might have been doing something else.
Very much so.
Hard to say though, right?
Yeah. Who knows? Well,
Yeah.
glad it went this way.
Me too.
So what's the most fulfilling aspect in your role as the crew's senior vice president?
I think it's just representing the crew itself is enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a history there. You know, being a part of a lineage or something like that is important, and I don't take that lightly. Like I really think about how I'm representing myself and my crew every time I do something. So that also there's accountability there. There's responsibility there.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing younger members kind of come up is fulfilling. You know, I just love that. I mean, there was so many of the young generation that I also pulled in into the crew after some time, but like, you know, getting them when they're like 7, 8, 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that spark happen in them, and then, you know, just being in their life from then until now is like, to me, that's the biggest thing, you know.
I didn't even think about that. That makes a lot of sense, and seeing anyone grow into something like that is.
It's incredible. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix is, to me, she's the real vice president, right? You know, like my idea of how this crew is gonna like move into the future is like, okay, Legs is the president.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a senior vice president, but I really look at my position as more, I'm going to be bringing in Phoenix to be the president of the crew. Like it's not even something that I consider an option for me. It's like I'm a liaison to make this happen, and
Yeah,
that's it.
you're the board.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I'm the consigliere eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever Phoenix wants to do, I'm down. You know, because of her age and my age right now, like, you know, I do a lot of the advising in that way, but slowly but surely she's moving up into position, and you know, I think it's going to be a great transition as well as we move forward, and we're hoping that we go into the future with some real strong ideas and possibilities, you know. Yeah.
So outside of NYC, which cities do you find produce the best b-boy crews?
Everywhere. When I started traveling, I was like, damn. First of all, I was surprised that there were b-boys and b-girls in the places that I went. I would never have imagined that, you know. So when I would go places, I'm like, yo, this is incredible. And then to see the level and to see how hard people work to do this, like, because they really have to go through a lot. They have to go through a lot of adversities to be able to do the things that they do. So there's a respect level there, no matter what level they're on. Sometimes for me, I'm just like, yo, props for that. The fact that you have no shoes on and you're doing this right now. You know what I mean? So I just say it's everywhere. It's worldwide at this point. And there's a lot of people involved. And the more that they get into it, you just see, as the years go by, the level keep raising, and a lot of it is with the youth. The younger generation is killing it right now, and they have the right teachers at this point. You know,
right?
Yeah. For me, like when I started, people were like, "Yo, just throw yourself." There was technique there, but there was not really. It wasn't refined yet. You know, we've spent
Not
so much
direction.
time. Exactly. Yeah, nowadays I feel like we're aware of that. So we're like in there, we're trying to tell you where to put your weight, put your hand here, do this here, like, you know, so kids are coming up super fast, way quicker than I did, for sure. So
someone in the chat from Dubai wants in.
Oh, where? Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, that's my man. Yeah, I'm hopefully I'll be out there fro style. You already know. Maybe soon.
So how did you transition from participating in dance competitions to serving on the panel of judges?
You know, it was interesting because that just kind of happened. It kind of happened. At first, I didn't want to take on a responsibility like that. But I did. I was battling pretty extensively by the time I like turned 25. I was just traveling and battling. That's all I wanted to do. But through that, also, I think people just respected where I was at in terms of my level as a dancer. I was already, you know, doing my thing for over 10 years at that time, at that moment. So if people have not seen me before or anything like that, they realize that I have some sort of experience. So for a lot of the b-boys and b-girls that I met, after a while, they were like, yo, could you come here? Could you, a lot of it was mostly based on class, teaching workshops, that type of thing. And then it just also led to doing this judging thing, which I like it, but there's a lot of politics that come with it. I take the responsibility on, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know how much longer I can do that. And I also feel like unless I am competing myself, then I don't know how long I can stay as a judge, because these things change and shift, right? For example, the way that we battled each other before is not the same the way these kids are battling on stage. It's a whole different experience, and I want to be able to know what that experience is like in order for me to judge it, So if I'm not doing those types of battles, I'll step down. I'm cool with that. I could just teach class or something like that. You want to learn some of what I got? Cool. But judging you is, I feel a little some sort of way about that,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Respectable,
Very much so.
Yeah.
What can we expect from the 5-7 collective in the near future?
Oh, yeah. So my man, J57, dope producer, MC. I met him through a couple friends, but then also in Sirius Radio. So he was working on Rappers Out of Control with Eclipse, and he was on Premiere Show as well, DJ Premiere Show. But yeah, J57 just had this vision, and he put a bunch of artists together, not even all musicians, some of them are paint, some of them just are his friends. And he's like, I just want to put everybody into this kind of collective. And it was, it's an honor for me, because Jay's dope, and I hope to do more with the group. Personally, I'm in a lot of things, so there's times sometimes when they call me to do something and I'm not there, because I teach in a university. I'm like flying around to Asia or something crazy like that. But they know I'm there. I support. I hope they feel that way. But I'm always looking into seeing what the group does. But they put out like collective mixtapes from time to time, and so I think you can definitely expect music from that collective for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely something you can do from home right now.
Yeah. I cook up every once in a while, like in between stuff. Like if I'm making breakfast, I'll make like 5 beats, making during breakfast or something like that.
Sure, why not?
Exactly.
So Breaking Algorithms, recording b-boy dance toward the future, debuted at the world famous Apollo Theater in 2017. What was it like working with Mayor 139 on this project?
Yeah, Mr. Rodriguez. So Carlos is he's a mentor of mine for sure, and I've always admired him. He was in the movie Star Wars, which is probably the first time I heard of him. And then I actually met his brother in my hometown. He was dating a girl there. He also came to a salon where I used to go get my hair cut at and stuff like that. And I met his brother, Kel first, his older brother. And then Kel kind of put me onto a lot of stuff, especially writing wise. And then eventually I met Carlos through Legs. So Mayor and Legs were working on a project. I think we were in London at the time. And I started talking to Mayor, and then, we were on each other's radar from that point on. Of course, I admire him. He admires my dance, whatever. And then he was like, yo, I want to work on a project with you. And it led to that. It led to that project. And it was a big deal. I mean, there was some money behind it. We were collaborating with, German 3D animator. We worked with this kind of suit technology that I've never really dealt with before. And Mayor was really spearheading that whole concept. It's really his concept to begin with. And I was just there to support him. And it was dope. It turned out really dope. I'm looking forward to doing more on that project. It's just that there's a lot behind it. So we would need more funding to move forward with that.
Right. I was surprised when I learned it only started in 2018. I thought it had been around for longer.
Yeah, I wish it was, you know.
Yeah.
And we did it fairly quickly. Like he actually came out to Arizona when I was at school,
Okay.
and we did that. We worked for a good week and a half to 2 weeks on that, and then he did it at the Apollo about a couple months after that. So yeah,
So speaking of your time at ASU, that same year you received your MFA in dance from ASU. Why was it
correct.
important to you in your career to accomplish a goal like this?
I mean, I love education, you know, period. And
I get that from
but
all the stuff I read about you. You're all about knowledge.
yeah, I just want to be around that
Hmm.
environment all the time. Like I'm actually applying for another master's degree, you know, in January for architecture. And I'm doing that because I don't want to ever stop learning, you know. And I also have ideas, and I've had them for over 15 years about where I want to go with my art, with my music, with my dance, with everything.
Hmm.
So I do think it's an accomplishment too, because I know most b-boys and b-girls are not thinking about that as a
The end goal, yeah.
yeah, as a goal, as a
Hmm.
path, as a anything, you know. But what I realized from going to school too is that hip hop is not necessarily treated the way I feel like it should be.
Right.
It's not usually in a dance major course. It's usually just an elective. So basically, you know, it's no different than if you wanted to do, you know, an aerobics class or
Pottery,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
you just want to sweat. You know what I
Right.
mean? And to me, it's like it's a piece of American history, right? So black culture is American culture as well. And I do believe that the music, the dance, the art, all of that should be represented in a specific way.
Hmm.
And one way to really bring that forward would be to have it on a platform in the like a university. Yeah.
So, in that vein, you've said that you're really interested in teaching at a university. Have you had a chance to present your ideas on building a curriculum based in concept art through the lens of hip hop?
Absolutely. So I've built a curriculum for two specific courses so far. I've done some research in history on the correlation between breaking and writing. So I've done a letter forms class at ASU for a year and a half. And it's an online course, but it's like, you know, a lot of just interaction between me and the students. And we're drawing and talking about how forms and letter forms can be movement and how you can take writing into a level of understanding patterns and movement and design, right? Design basics, basically. That course. And then now what I'm hopefully going to be successful in is at UWM, where I'm at now, is taking hip hop and making it a majors course for dance majors, which then would at least give it some bit of just due. I think if it's
Wait.
continuing to be an elective, yeah, it'll give it weight basically. Yeah,
Mhm.
if it's just stays an elective, it is what it is. If we move it into the dance curriculum and we make it mandatory, now you have to acknowledge it in some sort of way, you know. So I hope to be successful with that starting in January.
Me too. Best of
Yeah,
luck.
thank you.
So you've spoken about the knowledge of the history and culture of those involved in the those involved in the culture and movement lack. Why is it important to continue to build cultural awareness, especially now?
I mean, so it's always been, I think, but what I realized through the times and why maybe I would say something like that is because the more conversations I was having, the more traveling I was doing, time just was going. And I started to realize that there were certain aspects of what we considered a culture to be missing. And I was always like, well, how are we supposed to do any of this if like we don't really understand the connection between this and that? Like, okay, so we're gonna do a dance move, but we don't know where that comes from. You know, we don't know exactly the why as to what this thing represents, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, for one, my gears are turning like, well, how does this information get out there? Because also a lot of that information is just through lived experience. You can't really find that in a book, you know? So there's, you know, plenty of times I had conversations with PhDs and other people in the university, and show me a book or something. They'll be like, have you read this? And I'm like, I have. Yeah, I've seen it, I've read it, and it's informative to a certain extent, but you know, I would like to hear from people of the culture, you know. So I think it's important for, and here's where the university kind of steps in again, is that we can archive information, we can have interviews with people who are still living today, which I think is very important for us to start to really tackle, you know, getting a hold of, like, you know, some of these people's stories, you know, because I feel sometimes through this curriculum stuff that it goes back into this like thing that I'm like, no. Most dance, especially breaking, like, it's passed through word of mouth, right? So writing a book sometimes is not necessarily the way that we want to go. So I understand the need for something like that, but I also understand the need for not wanting to go in that direction. So there's a constant like balance for me right now, trying to figure out what that means and what we value as in our culture, and how we can move forward and still maintain those value systems. You know what I mean?
Right. That's kind of like what you said before about it being ever changing. So you can't really have a book if you teach a history class about it, sure, but if not, if you want like a current instruction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So where did the idea for All Hope Isn't Lost at USC's Kaufman School of Dance come from?
So that was based on, I met a guy by the name of Rennie Harris back in the day. It's like 2002 or 3, something like that. Yeah. I know, doesn't seem like that long ago.
I know, because it's not the 90s.
I get caught up listening to my mentors say back in the day, so I say it, but I ain't that old. Shit. But yeah, Rennie Harris would do like these lecture demonstrations, and I did a few of them with him. And he's a Philly legend in terms of like, you know, really pioneering this whole idea of hip hop, theater, as well as education. I think he pushed the whole education thing really far. So much respect to Rennie Harris, but he did these lecture demonstrations. At the end, he said, anytime I look down on somebody would be to pick them up.
Okay.
And that saying just always stayed with me, you know. And All Hope Isn't Lost, like, I don't know if that was the title that I was really aiming for, but I was trying to go forward with that message of, if I look down on you, it is to pick you up. And so the whole piece kind of is based around this idea of upliftment, right? And not judging from the person standing in the standing position versus the person in the laying down position or the down position, you know. So still really experimenting with it, and I'm actually putting it on to my UWM dancers now. So they're going to be showing this work again in February. So I'm tweaking some things, changing some stuff, adding some stuff to the music, and I'm still focusing on how I'm driving that message of upliftment in that piece. So
like a new interpretation of it.
Yeah. And All Hope Isn't Lost, I think, is a better title for the time period we're in now. Because I think people are losing hope in their government, their friends, it's all types of stuff that's happening. So, you know, this might be the title I'm going to rock with, at least for this time period. So, yeah.
You were a guest speaker in a class on urban arts entrepreneurship and design at Cornell, where there are more than 250,000 items are preserved in their hip hop collection. From where did this opportunity originate?
Yeah, they have an incredible archive there. So, have you been?
No, it's so far.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is, but it's incredible. Yeah, yeah. Anybody interested in hip hop, like music of hip hop, whatever. They have everything. They have.
I've communicated with people there before. Just
nice. Yeah. Definitely encourage you to go see it. It's amazing. But yeah, Leg's son goes to that school.
Okay.
And through that connection, he also then started to talk to the archivist there, because they reached out to Legs in terms of giving some pieces for his archive. So Legs has an active archive there, Bambaataa, Popmaster Fable, Scene, list goes on. But I met the archivist, his name's Ben Ortiz, at the school through Legs, and then he eventually reached out to me because of some of the work that I do, and he said it would be really great if you can come here and speak about, you know, how you're taking writing and dancing and putting into the built environment. So I basically just did a quick little conversation there, also taught some classes while I was there. So, and then I had the whole week in the archive, which I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, can I get this box, this box, this box? And they brought it to me.
A room full of records? Is it how it's set up? It's like a library kind of thing, or?
Yeah, in the way that it's kind of shelved for their own. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's just like walking through a library, you know. But when you go in there, you have to fill out a form. Then you can ask for certain boxes. It tells you what the contents of those boxes are.
So it's just like a library.
Yeah, and then they bring it out to you, and you flip through it, and it's kind of wild. So it's really dope. Yeah.
I think you'd have to do some pre-planning.
Absolutely.
I'd get overwhelmed if I went there with no plan.
Yeah. We got Crazy Legs in the chat right now. What's up, Legs?
So coming to the now a little bit, what prompted your move to Milwaukee almost 3 months ago? Is it because you're teaching at the school there? Or?
Yeah, so they reached out to me back in March. Okay. And then we started talking about it. I graduated with my master's in 2017, and I applied to, since 2017, there were about 6 positions put out specifically for hip hop dance teachings at universities. They did not put out anything. From what I heard, they were trying to recruit by reaching out to people. And Simone, who is the dance chair here, reached out to me through my website. You know, she saw some of my stuff, and then reached out to me and asked if I was interested in taking a full-time position. And I said yes, because I've been looking for that. You know, I really want to, my mission again is to give the dance its just due. And I'm not planning on staying either. Like, this is not something that I want to do so much in the future necessarily. I want to kind of open the door and then and then go on and do my next thing, because there's stuff that I want to do as well. And I think that there's a position for people that really want to do this and do this for a long time. And I'm hoping to get people the opportunities to get there, whether it be through scholarship, mentorship, any way possible, you know, to start to figure out who those people are that really want to, you know, take this to the level of higher ed and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So around the same time, the Rock City Crew celebrated its 43rd anniversary. What does the future hold for its members and supporters?
Well, for one, we took a few steps back to take a few more steps forward. And I say that to say, you know, so your question earlier about like, what did it mean to like get a master's degree, for example? You know, education, I think now has become one of the main aspects of what we're doing as a crew. Mm-hmm. So every member of the crew that we have now has had or is going to school, you know, to pursue, and it's not just for dance, mm-hmm. you know, because, and Leg said this back in the 90s, he said, we need more b-boy doctors, we need more b-girl politicians, we need, mm-hmm. It's just an expanse, it's like thinking way big in a bigger picture than just like, I want to be a dope b-boy, I want to be a dope b-girl. It ain't really about that necessarily only, that you can be a dope person and do all these things. Like, you know, this could be totally your lifestyle. You could be hardcore and do this every day, mm-hmm. and still go to work and still go to school and still, you know, push, you know, your community and be someone who's important in your society and community as well. So I think that's the message we're driving across, and we do that through example, you know.
I like it.
Yeah.
you mentioned working on an EP with Muhammadiyah in an interview a couple years back. Did that ever get released? I didn't have much luck finding
Not yet. We're
Okay.
working on it. We're working on it. You know, she's a beautiful person and super talented. I mean, for me, her voice is butter. You know, she's one of my favorite female MCs. So when she had reached out and we started talking, it was like, yo, I was like, this is dope. We did spend a short time in the studio, and right when I feel like we're ready to start rolling things out, you know, COVID hits, and that we still have like finishing touches to do and all that kind of stuff. So it's on the back burner as of right now. But I do think also what she mentioned to me too was like she wanted me to start putting out some of my own music as well first before we start rolling out everything else. So, you know, it's a process, but yeah, just stay tuned. It'll be out there for sure. It'll be out, and it's dope. It's dope.
Of course it is. Speaking of dope, your James Brown leopard print is dope. I saw it and then I had to do a double take. I was like, is that James Brown? When did your interest in graphic design as well as animation develop?
That was early on. That was even before dance, I think. You know, I started I was so into music and visual art more than dance. Dance kind of came after, you know. Comic books, I would say, was my introduction to just painting, inking, coloring, all of that kind of stuff. I had an early interest in architecture. I just didn't know how to go about it. Plus, I had these crazy ideas, and then I thought, maybe this is not exactly where I want to go because maybe it's too creative. Like, it's not physically possible to make a building like this, for example. So I was like, man, I'm a dream artist. I'm not like someone who can sit down and actually make this a reality. But
animation makes a lot more sense.
But my mind's changed on that. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to build exactly what's in my head in the next few years. But, yeah, I mean, I think I'm always kind of playing with imagery, and imagery is important to me. Aesthetic is important to me because within aesthetic, there could be so much information. And simple is also something that I shoot for. It's very hard to be simple and be strong.
I agree.
You know, and when you do something so simply but so on point, it's just like, damn, you know, it's direct. There's nothing to even question about it. You get it, and you get it exactly for what it is. So I always try to scatter as far as I can, and then hone in and go, that's it right there. You know, and it's the simple thing, and then you're like, damn, all this information is in this small little, you know.
Because you can't hide behind the details if it's simple.
There you go. Exactly. Perfectly put. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So from where do you draw inspiration for your visual construction work, like the wooden chair you fashioned to resemble a graffiti styled S?
The writers, just graffiti in general. The movement itself is incredible, you know, and there's just a incredible amount of talented people who do that, you know. There's so much information just in writing alone that it doesn't need to be even compared to something for it to have its, you know, I don't even know what to say. Like you can't put it up next to something and be like, this is dope because it's similar to this. No, it's just dope. Like it's just dope in what it is already. So it's like when I look at graph, I'm like, yo. And when you understand the inner workings of it, it's mind blowing when you see a piece that you're like, yo, everything in here is just like, whoa, you know, there's funk in there. There's the colors, it's like meaning again, it's all inside. So yeah, for me, that's enough. And then everything else that comes with traveling, breaking, my interest in fashion, my interest in music, it all relates to each other in some sort of way, and ideas bounce off of each other all the time. So whatever I learn from music production, I put into my writing, which then goes into my breaking, which then goes into this outfit that I want to wear, which is like it's all connected and interwoven. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why I love talking to graffiti writers. There's so many layers to that stuff.
Yo, they're deep thinkers, and there's so much meaning to something that you probably would completely overlook.
Exactly.
Right? There's symbolism in there. There's all this information, and it's like, it's incredible. It really is.
We need a graffiti museum. Why doesn't that exist?
There's one in Florida.
Where? Oh, right.
The Museum of Graffiti. So actually, Mayor is a big part of that too. But yeah, look that up. It's dope. It's right in the Wynwood district. You know, where they usually do Art Basel. Yeah.
That's where I went to Dilla weekend, and it was right there. So I got to go.
Sick. Yes.
So it's been almost 35 years since Run DMC released My Adidas, and you've said the Adidas brand has been a staple of hip hop and also one of your favorite brands to work with. What is it about those three stripes that appeals to so many involved in hip hop culture?
It's iconic. You know, it's just one of those symbols that has gained popularity through, for one, the interest of the people first, right? So you had Run DMC that was like holding up the sneaker saying, My Adidas. So they gave it already the stamp of approval. And the fact that someone like them would do that, then everybody else in the neighborhood starts wearing it. It just becomes a staple of hip hop, especially b-boys, right? And then I've seen it a whole bunch growing up. So like Ken Swift, for example, would have the illest Adidas outfit, and then the rest of Rocksteady would have some crazy stuff on. And, you know, they tell me about the history of that. Oh, we used to take the Fat Lasers and put them in the top 10s and blah, blah, blah. So all this, like, you know, stuff that gets passed down through time, I try to find my connection to that in my time period, you know? So, like, there's even this thing, like, so there's other Adidas, like, brands. It's not just, like, Adidas. Like, so for my generation, it's like the Adidas that they're talking about, they label as Adidas Originals now. And then there's Adidas Sport. And then there's Adidas Neo, which is like the new whatever. So they're trying all these things. But they realized that there was a cultural connection to the original Adidas, so they kept Adidas Originals as a thing, right? So like those are the pieces that we search for that, you know, maybe tell more of the story of what they were talking about in the 80s, you know? But yeah, it's just dope. It's dope. It's like the Playboy symbol. It's the same thing. It's like the New York fitted hat. It's all, there's all like these things in there that have become just iconic for hip hop. Yeah.
You just made me remember I had like 4 pairs of Sambas when I was growing up.
There you go. See? Yeah.
So futurism is very prominent in your aesthetic. Speaking of aesthetic, what is it about this movement that inspires your work?
Looking forward to me is so interesting. It's just like even the Adidas, for example, right? I'm always trying to find what the next steps are, especially for people that come in after like an era, for example. Like the 70s was an era. 80s was an era. I realize now coming up in the 90s, that was a time period. What does it look like in the 2000s now? And my idea of evolution does not wipe away the essence. So understanding what the essence is of what created those things before has to still show up. That's a challenge. That's not easy to do. You can't just like I could very easily just put on an outfit of the 80s and be like, boom, b-boy. But how can I put on an outfit of today and you still get that same energy? You still get that same feeling. You still be like, yo, this is a b-boy, but it's not like what I'm used to seeing, right? So like I'm always thinking in that way on every element, you know, writing, breaking, music, like moving music now into like modular, for example. Like, you know, I've been studying that for a minute now. I'm trying to think about how do I bang hip hop out of these like modules and synthesizers and all this. Like all these things now are like moving, you know, almost in a way looking back, but then stepping forward. Like that's really what futurism is to me. So I try to do that to the best of my ability. You know.
Yeah. So since the pandemic hit back in early March, have you been able to reach audiences with the B-Boy Why Not Masterclass workshops at all, or any kind of
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I'll throw up a little something on IG Live. Yeah, I'll just do it like this. You know, I'll just do a class. Like I might promote it like, you know, a couple of days prior. The first time I did it, I had like over 1,000 people watching. And I got a lot of great feedback from it. So it was really cool. And I love everybody. I mean, you know, the community and the network that has been made from the past like 20 years of me doing this is really dope. So, you know, they're always there, and I want them to know that I'm always there too. So boom, let me give this to you, you know, and it's by donation only. I wasn't trying to be like, you know, you got to pay for this, pay for that. Of course we need to, you know, live as artists as well. But like, there's certain times that I know that it's like, I have no problem doing this. I have no problem with like, wanting to share or help in some sort of way and contribute. So, yeah, that's just it. I'm gonna continue to do those, I think, too, even after the pandemic. I think it was really great experience, and I want to every once in a while just kind of reach out to the people and talk to them in that kind of way.
And it's just a really great way to like get in touch with people that aren't necessarily local.
Yeah, I mean, why weren't we doing this before? You know what I mean?
It's been there, yeah.
It's been there, but we were always like, oh, fly me out or take me to this spot. But, you know.
Spend lots of money. So fans of your work are interested to know if you're still battling. Obviously, it's not something going on right now, but before the pandemic, were you still actively participating? Yeah,
I did a battle right before the pandemic hit. Actually, it was in China for New Year's.
Okay.
So what's crazy about that is I was flying back from Beijing, like right when it hit over there. So I was like, yo, what's going on? And some of my friends from China were reaching to me. They're like, yo, it's a little crazy out here right now. You know, Hunan is this and that. And I said, oh, okay. And then from there, just watching, because then it's Italy, right? And I'm there all the time. So I was like, okay. Then I traveled to Brazil. And at that point, it was already starting to reach America. This is February now. And I was like, yo. So little by little, yeah, things were coming down. But yeah, I'm always still trying to get involved with battles. You know, I may not be the first person people think of in terms of exhibition or anything like that. I know some people do want to see certain matchups with me and somebody else. I'm super down, always down for that. Battling, I don't think will ever not happen for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So you shared a post on here a few months back with the quote, "To understand the culture, study the dance. To understand the dance, study the people." How do Baba Chuck Davis's words apply? Yeah, my typo. Words apply to what the world is experiencing right now, with an overwhelming amount of acts of aggression fueled by ignorance and hatred in this country.
First of all, that quote was passed to me by Monsell Durden. He's a friend of mine. Monsell Durden is a old friend of mine. Also, just he teaches at USC as well. Super dope person, dancer, educator. But yeah, I believe he had a studying relationship also with Baba Chuck. So that quote says it all. It says everything. And you can't just take from something and not continuously uplift that, because it's like, then the reservoir kind of goes dry, and that just doesn't make sense. Like, how are you just going to continuously take into something? It's like you're leaving and not giving back anything to that thing of where you're pulling from. It just doesn't make sense. And I've seen it a lot, especially within hip hop culture. And it's sad, you know, but it also speaks to like just people wanting to see opportunities, you know. Oh, you could do, I have conversations with people all the time. They're like, you could do this with your dancing, and maybe you could do this, and you need a manager. And you actually, no, I don't need none of that.
They don't know you at all.
I don't need any of that.
No.
I don't need anything. I'm fine. But people always see dollar value in everything. And that's an American thing, you know, and I think what's been happening recently is a wake-up call to all of this, and saying like, yeah, that's cool, you want to like make money and this and that, and you know, be a boss. You know, we were all wanting to be bosses, everything's boss talk and blah blah blah. That's cool, but you know, to me there's just like, there's major karmic consequences to that kind of stuff if you are not properly serving the things that you're taking from. So I've learned that at a young age, and you know, it's not something that I need to get schooled on. I've been schooled on it, and I'll never catch myself slipping in that way. I have to give back just as much as I take. It's just, if not more, because there would be no why not. You understand? It's like, I get that. I don't know how many people get that, and I think it's important to know. So, it's about the people, like Baba Chuck says. It's not just about the dance. It's not just about the art. It's the people that then make that art. So there's a layer that you have to peel away and say, oh, look, there's a person here. And that's important to me. And that's important. It's all about people. It's not even about the art, honestly, after a while. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, why not, Tony? I appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else that you want to add or promote? We got a few more minutes before the hour.
No, just, you know, anybody who's watching, you know, swing by my page and check me out, you know, and or hit me with a DM or something if you have any questions, you want to talk, whatever. Like, I'm a very easy person to reach. I think I am quite busy. There's no doubt about that. I have my foot and hand and half my body in so many things, but you know, that's part of the work, is to be a people person. You have to speak to people. This is it, you know. Like this conversation, you know.
Sorry, other than Instagram, where else can people hear about what you've got going on?
Through my website, I guess. You know, I have to keep things simple for myself, because like for me to manage like other social medias, it's a little bit tough, right? So I try to keep it very centralized to the Instagram and just to the website. And the website, I flip around every once in a while, you know. But yeah, that's it. And yeah, I'm always available for conversation and that kind of thing. I think also I was like really getting to that point when I went back to school, saying, and this is at like a height of me traveling, battling, teaching. I was like, this is fly, right? But then I'm like, this can't be it.
Right.
This can't be it, because where's this going? It's going nowhere. It's just going. It's just going. It's just going. And I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? What are we going to do? So yeah, I'm always searching for what the next thing is. And I will continue to do so until it reveals itself, you know? Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And I hope you have a good night.
You too. Thank you so much. It was a great talk and wonderful work, by the way, I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we'll hope to speak to you again soon, and I hope you have a good night.
You too. Thanks so much.
All right.